Welcome back to Under the Brand. I'm your host, Valerie Jennings, and today we're diving into the world of sports, culture, and brand building in one of the most eclectic cities in the US, Miami. Joining me is someone at the heart of one of the fastest growing sports franchises in town, Tomas Ordonez, head of growth at the Miami Sharks Rugby. Tomas, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and we are excited to learn everything about this sports team. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at the Miami Sharks.
Yeah, thank you, Valerie, first for having me. It's a pleasure to be under the brand, talking about the Sharks. So a bit about myself. I've been living here in Miami for the past 4 years. I'm originally from Argentina. So forgive me if my English is not the best. I'll do my best. I worked in the brand building, marketing, communications side of things for a long time, and in Argentina, more oriented in what it's the corporate communication side of things and PR. Good knowledge about how to market this beautiful product, this beautiful sport that we have in our hands, which is rugby. I played rugby my whole life, so it's been a part of me since I was born, basically. I didn't get to play professional, but I was pretty close, and now I get to the opportunity to build from scratch a rugby franchise, a professional rugby franchise here in Miami. So I'm basically living a dream. Super
I
happy.
was just going to say it sounds like a dream come true. And
Yeah.
rugby, that's also very exciting for the United States. Like and Miami, like there's so many awesome things like mixed into that. And you're on the forefront of growing this brand. Like for our viewers and listeners, what is the most exciting part of your job?
So I think the most part of my job is we are so much in a startup stage. It's get to be involved in pretty much everything in every stage in every area of the organization. So from marketing, so from sales, sponsorship, I actually focus more on sponsorships and partnerships, but get involved in everything because as you know or everyone knows in a startup, it's like all hands, everyone. And being so passionate about what we're doing and what we're built, the best part is to be able to be involved in every area and every aspect of the organization, from the actual team and being part of the team and getting, obviously I don't get to decide who plays or not, but super involved in the sporting side of things, to again to the grassroots level, marketing, to the sponsoring, to the operations in the game days. So yeah, it's basically it's like a baby that we all take care of, and that's super exciting for me.
Yeah, very exciting. So, how do you build community in Miami? I mean, there's lots of competing teams there that, all kinds of sports in Miami. How do you establish this team as a standout brand and build loyalty and a fan base there?
That's a great question. So rugby itself, it's a unique product, I'd say. It's so different from any other sports that are already established in the US, with such a rich history, with such a long history. Actually, it's actually the football, American football, was born from rugby. Pretty fun story. And of course, it has a global massive audience, and here in the US there's already a community of rugby lovers, especially all of those expats living here in the US from those
Yeah.
countries where rugby is big, like United Kingdom, Europe, France, Italy. Then you go to Africa and Oceania with South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. Argentina is also a very big rugby country. So there's a very loyal community around the rugby that from day one, when they heard about the Miami Sharks being a new thing, they were super excited. They actually started reaching out to us and saying, "Hey, this is me. How can we help? We are super excited about this." And that's a great way to start. It's not huge, but it's big. It's considerable for you to start growing from them, reaching out to new communities and bringing people who may never know about rugby. So here in Florida, there's youth teams, there's adult, there's men's, there's women's teams, people who are already active with rugby. So that was like our first step in getting those relationships with them and trying to get them involved with rugby and get them not only as season ticket holders, as fans, as people who may help us as to sponsor or get their companies or their businesses in the Miami Sharks, but as our ambassadors, as our promoters. Like one of the things that I always say is it's way easier to convince someone to try rugby for the very first time if you invite them to have a great time, to do a tailgate, to invite them for a beer, and to just have a great a great experience throughout the whole day, you know? Like first, a start, rugby's an excuse for those who don't know nothing about rugby. And then when they get to watch rugby for the very first time, they get completely hooked because I'm telling you, but rugby is amazing. It's super intense. It's like football, but instead of being play by play, it's nonstop. It's like super, super intense.
Super intense. I love it. I mean, what you're describing is what all brands aspire for. They want a very motivated niche audience. And
Yeah.
from what you're describing, you already had one built in. You just had to tap into it. I think that that is such a great lesson for all startups. I work with a lot of startups that are still trying to figure out who their audience is. It's so much easier if you have one, but in this case, even more exciting because it's sports, right? And who doesn't love to go tailgate and watch a great game? But outside of that audience, that loyal fan base, what have you done to engage them digitally, like to get them to promote the Sharks, to get others to come to the game and keep expanding that audience?
So we always try to combine digital strategy to physical and real life strategy because that's, I think, the best way to move forward. So with this niche, we as I was saying, as we reached out, we reached out to each and every club, to each and every person involved in rugby, and said, like, first, get to know what are their struggles or what are their problems, or in which ways Miami Sharks could elevate their own youth clubs, their own rugby communities. You know, maybe they were seeking more promotion or help with sponsors or whatever. We tried and be the Miami Sharks an asset for them, and then of course to reach out to people from outside that niche. We do a lot of community outreach, especially, and maybe the biggest way of getting new fans into the Miami Sharks. We have a program which is called Imagine Rugby. It's together with a foundation that's a national nonprofit that works with USA Rugby, which is the association that conglomerates all of the rugby in the USA, where we get to introduce rugby to students in public schools. We're starting in Broward, which already is a pretty big place with over 320 public schools, where we do a non-contact version of rugby. So it's like flag rugby, flag football, but flag rugby. And as I was saying, we are all hands, like players themselves get involved in this program. So we got our pro players in their off days and their rest days to go and reach to the kids, to connect with the kids, to personally tell them their own experience on rugby. We have 4 or 5 players that were homegrown here in Florida. So who they tell them the story, the storytelling, it's amazing. So it's basically their own experience of being a Miami born and raised, where they started playing basketball or football, and eventually at 14 or 15 years old, they heard about rugby and they tried it and they loved it, and they became, after a couple of years, professional rugby players now with Miami. So their story is basically like a living proof of what we want to, or we would like to achieve with those kids, you know, for them to get super involved in rugby, or for them to love rugby, to start playing rugby, and after school to go to a college where rugby has a program, and then after that be eligible through the draft to be playing with the Miami Sharks, or with the league, you know.
That's
And we do,
amazing. That
yeah.
is amazing. Congrats. That's an awesome program. Have any of these kids expressed an interest yet in being professional rugby players?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, rugby is so technical in the different aspects of how to be played. It needs to be fully incorporated. It takes a couple of years, I'd say. But yeah, we have plenty of players, of students that actually are already part of our free clinic. Now we're doing a free clinic in summer every Wednesday in our training facilities, where we again start teaching the very basics about the sport, you know, because the passing, for example, is way different from football. So the technique of how to pass it takes time to develop. So yeah, that's a lot of work. But yeah, again, we are an organization filled with passionate people about the sport. So we
Yeah.
give we give our everything to get more people involved in this beautiful sport.
I just want to pause for a second because, again, a lot of brands struggle to find a charity or a foundation that really aligns with their values. Your involvement in this is so organic, and it's just a perfect blend of everything that the team and the energy that you guys are putting into this. And I think that especially for our listeners and viewers, like, think about a strategy. And when you partner with a charity, just throwing money at something that doesn't always equal success. You actually have to get the people involved and be passionate about it. That's what I'm hearing from you. And
Yeah.
that everybody really believes in this. It's not just something that you guys are doing to check a box or build your fan base or give back to the community. How did you design this? Like, was just this very easy to make this decision and come up with this? Or did you guys actually spend time strategically trying to figure out if this was a worthwhile investment?
So the Imagine Rugby program is actually it's been around for years prior to the Miami Sharks. As I was saying, it's a national nonprofit that works together with the Major League Rugby, with our league and USA Rugby. So they as soon as we started, they approached us and they say, hey, this is a great way to get that grassroots level involved with the organization, and they assist us with different on the strategic, more of like operational side of things, where there's a complete, again, we needed to be approved by the Broward County Public Schools physical educator supervisor. It's not just go to the school and do some rugby things and leave. You have to, everything be done by the book, you know? So it's super professional, super, like we're super committed to achieving those results. And not only that, we give them free equipment, we give them free balls, we give them the free tags, we give them free tickets to our games. So we planned for every home game to have at least one, two, or even three schools to come to our games for the kids to actually watch and experience what rugby is for real, you know, because they see maybe our players chilling with them or trying to teach them the basics around the sport. But when you see them in action, go and kilo guy against a 100 kilo guy without any helmets, without any pads, straight at it, it's a different whole experience, which leaves a mark. And it happened in our first season that the schools that came in the first season wanted to come again this second season. So it's something that it starts to pick up, and it's not only with the students but with their parents, and that's how you start to build that community outside of the niche that we already have. You know, from people that knows nothing about rugby, and you have your kid telling you won't believe it who came today, the Miami Sharks players, and maybe they know nothing about them, but now that the word of pro players,
Yes.
it's for them, it's inspiring
Right.
them, you know.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Let's switch gears and talk about sponsorships and corporate partnerships. How have you approached that as you've been building up the marketing and growth for the team?
Yeah, so of course, our ownership brought their own sphere of influence regarding sponsorships and partnerships from the corporate side. And then more like us going to get those new sponsors or potential sponsors, that's a whole different thing. So it's funny enough because the conversation goes two ways. If it starts me asking what rugby is, and the person who I'm talking to knows nothing about rugby, it usually takes a little bit longer for them to pick up and get convinced of jumping on board the Miami Sharks. If they already know, they are usually super intrigued and super excited about involving in some way with the Sharks because they know the potential of rugby as a sport here in the US. As you were saying in the introduction, it's one of the fastest growing sports. It's head to head with pickleball. There's every year, there's more players, amateur players, there's more franchises in our league, there's more viewers, there's more like attention and popularity. We're getting to that place that we always dreamed of, you know. And then from a sponsoring more strategic, more of like commercial sales, we got options to everyone. Me personally, I don't usually build a standardized package where I just send it through and I don't care what the other or what the organization is really looking for. I try to again connect and see what are they expecting from sponsoring with us, or what would they really look as a return of their investment in us, because we got companies, organizations that they care about the community aspects and getting them involved in our community outreach. Some that they only or they care more about the advertising opportunities because our games are broadcasted nationally on ESPN Plus. So they really want the biggest part from their sponsorship to be on that. And then some others want the whole experience of being able to bring potential clients or bring their employees to our games and having like the VIP, the naming rights of the fan zone. Like it's very customized to each
Yeah.
organization. Of course, we got again options from starting as low as K to main sponsors being 250K. So
Oh,
that's what we're doing. Also, at the same time that I'm doing community outreach, I'm doing the whole sponsorships and the sales strategy, which is also super exciting because I get to attract people to my world, to the rugby world, and
yeah.
usually and all of the sponsors that we brought in this the second season and the last season, all of the sponsors from last season, they renewed their sponsorship this season, and everyone is super excited, and everyone sees the value of the Miami Sharks because it's super different from any other sports event. I'd say the community,
Yeah.
the
And
fan base, it's super.
what is that energy when somebody walks in for either the tailgate or the game? Is it shocking? Are they shocked? Do you prepare them and say it's a little wild? Or is it just fun? Like how would you describe it?
So I'd say it's super fun. It's super
Yeah.
fun. You only have to prepare themselves if they never watch rugby, that it's gonna be super wild. Like it's gonna
Wild.
be
Yeah.
intense.
How
Yeah,
could
it's gonna.
yeah.
But people get super hooked. Like you're off your seat the whole 80 minutes because it doesn't give
It
you any
doesn't
time
stop.
to rest. Yeah, it doesn't stop. But there's so many things happening all the time that it's like, my God, what am I watching? It's like, yeah, it
Uh,
leaves you speechless. But then the
that's
whole experience is super close, it's super intimate. It's like we have an average attendance of 2,500 people to every home game, so it's not like the crowds that you see in soccer or American football or even basket. So it's super intimate, super familiar. You see people from all ages, from 2 years old to 80 years old, where you got to meet people and everyone's super open to engage with everyone and talk about rugby and enjoy a beer. Even the organization itself, even our players are super approachable. So at every game, when the game ends, the guys go to the fans and take pictures with the fans and talk and have real conversations, and real relationships are established. You get to be friends with the guy that battles for 80 minutes. So that's something way different. There's like no superstars. There are no egos around the team. And that's an experience by itself. Like people go crazy about being the possibility of every game approaching to them and having a real conversation. That's also something that's super valued within
that
our fan
is
base.
unique. Yeah, that's very unique. So, Tomas, what's next for the Sharks? You've been building, you're having success, people are renewing. What is next for you and what you're working on right now and for the Sharks?
So our mindset is set in 2031 because that's the Rugby World Cup coming in. The Rugby World Cup is basically the third biggest sports event in the world in terms of revenue, in terms of viewership. So we are aiming to keep on building baby steps every year, to keep on growing our fan base, to keep on growing our grassroots, to every year have more people involved, aware in some way with rugby. So by 2031, when the Rugby World Cups arrive to the US, and obviously Miami, it is going to be one of the host cities, for that moment to have like a super boost, and the Miami Sharks to be on a whole different stage that I can't even imagine right now. But
And that is really exciting. That's exciting. It's a long build up, but definitely worth it. Well, Tomas, it's been a pleasure having you on and learning more about the Sharks. Everybody, you've been watching Under the Brand. I'm your host, Valerie Jennings.